But I'm wondering if filming it was a good idea in the first place, because if I just said I'm going to take 15 days to write a book and post it on social media and I didn't film it, I might be able to write faster, I might be able to write more, I might, be able to feel less conflict each time I sit down to write, because I'm not having to think about the video. Today we're going to talk about the outline of the story. We're going to discuss the style of writing. We're also going to talk about the age of the readers. We're going to discuss the timeline moving forward, how many days I have left, and how I'm going to use those days. So the outline. I worked last night up until about 4 o'clock in the morning. I thought it was a better use of my time to work on the outline instead of continuing the story as is, because I needed to wrap my head around how the story was going to progress and how it moves forward. So I outlined up to 75 pages of the story last night, and I hit a point where the plot was getting more complex and I really needed to think it through. So I got up to page 75 last night, and I'm going to continue writing until I hit at least 100 pages or until the story kind of naturally comes to a close. From there, I'll read through the outline and make edits and changes in order to get a story that feels like it flows. Also, when you look at a normal story arc, you kind of get this wave function where you have the exposition, and that exposition leads up into just a natural arc where you get to that climax of the story where you get to the problem, the root issue that the character faces internally, externally. And so they sort of have this learning experience where they learn more about the world, and that's really what I want to do for this book in particular. The main character, Arlen, is a guardian. Guardians are tasked with protecting the forest, maintaining balance. Well, he's going to go through this experience where he's going to learn more about the world and the imbalance of the world. And then he'll naturally hit this point where he comes across some external force that is preventing him from either learning more or preventing him from solving the issue. Well, then after that point, you're going to have this external and internal conflict where he feels like he can't move forward. So before the character can move forward, they have to overcome themselves, overcome their own ego, their own expectation of what's going to happen. That's the part that I'm having difficulty with, is figuring out that external factor mixed with that internal factor, where those two things intersect, resolving that conflict. So I'm going to work today on the outline and make sure that flows and follows some reason of thought and is a compelling story. Secondly, I wanted to talk about the style of writing. My style of writing, I typically just go for the first person point of view. You have the main character, and that character sees the world, and you kind of get the thoughts of that character. With some third person, omnipotent point of view here and there scattered about. But I really want to experiment with an epistolary style of writing, which is also commonly referred to as a Dear Diary or journal style of writing. You see it in a lot of science fiction novels. And it's the way that James Gurney writes his book, Dinotopia. He has the main character writing letters almost in a scientific journal documenting the world. And so I want to experiment with maybe writing in that sense where you have this main character, Arlen, who is struggling with all of these ideas and comes across all of these unique experiences and places, and he's documenting those in a journal as he's going. I'm not sure if that's the style of writing I want to go for, and that's what I haven't been doing it so far. I've just been writing in a first to third person point of view, all mixed together, so it's all a little complicated right now. But I want to try to experiment with maybe changing the writing up a little bit to match that style. So thirdly, I want to talk about the age of the reader and who I'm writing for. This is something that I have struggled with because my style of writing, I don't typically write for a younger audience. I want to make sure that the writing style is going to be as broad as possible. I want to have young readers anywhere from 8 to 10 years old all the way up into adulthood. I want to make sure that I'm hitting the broad audience but also making a compelling story for both sides of the spectrum, the adults and the kids. So let's talk about timeline. I have 12 days left, including today. I need to finish the outline, have a good understanding of where the story is going, and then I can just hit the ground running and write my 3,000 words a day. So with all of that being said, there's only one thing to do, and that's to write. Having the videos to keep me accountable, but are the videos causing me to stress out about the actual project?
I think it's kind of, what Brian was saying earlier about when God's given you a project and an inspiration and kind of like a mission to do, you know, it's about bringing other people on board with you. It's not about doing it by yourself. And so maybe part of that, however mundane it may seem to you at the time, like maybe part of that is bringing other people in and like kind of sharing your excitement with them, because it gets them excited, and their excitement in turn gets you excited because they support you. You know, it gives you an extra drive to make something beautiful and to create something that's worthy of excitement, you know. And there's a lot of time and a lot of thought and a lot of effort that's been put into this, so I think it's worth sharing.
Yeah, I guess I put a lot of expectation on myself to create something that I feel like is worth watching. And I guess when you're in the thick of it, you've seen it so much and you're the one living it, and you know what is behind the scenes, you know what's going on like in your head, and so you're constantly doubting yourself whether it's worth watching, whether it's worth anybody like taking the time out of their day to like be a part of what I'm doing. And I guess that's the ultimate thing, like you were saying, like if this is something that's from God or if it's just an idea that I had in my head, you know. And I think it can be both. So I think just keep moving forward and keep filming, you know, whatever I can film, and just as a way to be accountable to it, you know, uploading something every day, just to say that I am.
I mean, even going out and doing something like this is quite an endeavor, you know. And God has given you a creative drive and an insane amount of talent, and you know, it can be used for really, really awesome things. And I think bringing people on board is good.
So I want to give a big shout out to my friend Isaac for setting up a Reddit for Booth 42. If you go to r/Booth42 on Reddit, you'll find some of my artwork where I'm posting it. I post each day when I make these videos. I post a link in there for YouTube. So go ahead and check that out if you want to. Otherwise, subscribe if you haven't. Like the video, hit the bell icon if you want to be notified of when I release new videos. But otherwise, thank you for joining me today, and I hope to see you tomorrow.